Alright guys, so the Supra's gone getting some work done with straight boost. Had a slight crack in the head, it's getting welded up. We've also been getting our manifold fixed up, so we're going to take advantage. And today we are going to be doing, well, for a couple of days, because I don't have the manifold back yet, but we are going to be doing a DIY ceramic coat essentially with this high temp paint from VHT and this primer, of course, for when before you paint it. We're going to be doing it to our downpipe, our back housing, which I have the new back housing inside the house, and our turbo manifold, which we do not have currently. But the reason I'm out here with the wire wheel is to just smooth out the surface and prep it for the paint. So before you paint, you want your surface as smooth and clean as possible. So that's the whole reasoning behind this right now. We used to have heat wrap on this downpipe, which is why you see me wearing gloves, just so I don't touch it too much. I should have put on a long sleeve shirt, actually. Probably would have been a better idea. I'm also going to wear a mask just to not breathe in some of what's flying off the downpipe and all that. And once we smooth this out, of course, then we just got to put our flame-proof paint on it. And we're going to hang it up in the backyard, paint there. And our back housing, well, I bought a replacement Borg Warner 366 with the same back housing, so it's brand new, so it does not need to go through this process, but it does have to be coated. But yeah, let's get to it, guys. We're gonna move our work somewhere else. It's been getting wet here. The paint can stay. I'm not using it yet. So we already wire wheeled the downpipe, as you guys see. We have a relatively smooth surface to work with now, so this coating could work very well. We're gonna test this out, and if it doesn't work on this, then I guess we'll take it back off and heat wrap it at some point. Alright, so as you guys see, next day the Supra has returned. The head has been repaired. I will go more in depth into the repairs later on. And we got our manifold back as well. Edison actually helped us weld it up. And Bowden at Straight Boost actually helped weld the head, and he did some extra touch-ups on the welding of the manifold, which the crack was right here. You guys might be seeing that there. He did an excellent job welding it up, and got some of the more hard to reach spots as well. So we should be fine for a while. We also got the braces. We also got the bracing re-welded, so it's a little bit stronger this time around. All we got to do now is wire wheel this, and we don't have to wire wheel a back housing because, as I said, it's brand new. That came with a brand new turbo. But we do have to clean off some surface rust for when we make this to the head, and for when we made our turbo to the manifold. We got to clean that surface rust off, and then everything else we just got to wire wheel so that we have a clean surface to paint. To it. Well, drill ran out of battery, but I did what I could. There are some parts that we just couldn't clean up that much. I might get a steel wire brush for them, as well as sandpaper, and might finish it off like that. Like say this runner, I was not able to do too much simply because of his location. There's not a whole lot I can do right there. But everything else is actually pretty decently done. So now we're in the backyard, guys. Got everything hung up. This is a pretty ratchet method to paint your stuff, and I definitely don't recommend it if you have access to a garage or something that is a little more closed off but still some ventilation for the paint fumes to get out. I definitely recommend that more if you have access to a paint booth, etc. It's a much better method, but pretty much I just hung up everything. There are going to be some spots I might miss a little bit because of rope, but the general premise of it will be covered. This is not the best way to do it, but it does work. Obviously I have to deal with Mother Nature, so whenever there's wind I gotta stop, I gotta wait, you know. So that's one drawback to this, but it is enough to just get the job done. Now for the coatings, we're using VHT Flameproof. We got the flat black color and we got our primer. and pretty much both share pretty much the same application process. But yeah, this is what we're going to be using, and it's definitely a good way to pretty much ceramic coat essentially on a budget. So you got to shake the can for about a minute before you use it. We're going to start off with the primer, of course, and we're just going to hit pretty much everything. As you see, we got our wastegate mask off instead of removing it, simply to avoid any issues clocking it or anything like that. So while that might not be the best method, it can work. So I masked it off pretty much completely. But yeah, shake your can for about a full minute, and definitely I suggest wear a mask. I'm wearing one right now, so you don't breathe any of this stuff in. And if you're outdoors, of course, like I said, just wait for there not to be too much wind, and if you feel the wind coming, just stop. Gonna do the manifold first, because of course the manifold and downpipe are a lot bigger. They require more. I can kind of skimp out a little more on the back housing, and that's brand new, so even if I don't use some primer, it'll probably stick pretty well. So we coated everything in primer. Gonna wait about 10 minutes, maybe hit it with a little bit more, and then we'll hit it with the black paint. So we've let the primer sit for a while. As you see, the downpipe looking pretty decent. The back housing came out the best of everything. It was the easiest one to do. And then of course our manifold, this got runs, but whatever. I mean, if it works, it works. I don't really mind it. But so now we're gonna start coating with the flat black paint that we got to make everything look way better, and also provide its function of course controlling the heat. So we're gonna start from here with the downpipe and work our way down to the manifold. So now we finished painting. It'll dry to touch in about an hour, dries to be handled in about 3 hours. And while we're not going to get to obviously throwing everything on the car yet, simply because there is some other work I have to do, I'm going to have to do the heat cycles for this to properly cure on the car instead of off it, simply because, well, I don't have an oven that I don't use for food. So this would have to be done on the car, which is not the best way, but it could be done. There are some instructions on the can here, and then, well, we'll be pretty much set. I ended up using a lot more coats to get rid of some of the runs that were visible. There are some more that popped up in other places, but whatever. At the end of the day, I did this more for performance than aesthetic. Aesthetic would have been a nice bonus, but I kind of messed up to an extent on some of this stuff. And well, it was hard to get the weather to cooperate with this, so I just did as much as I could no matter what. And the manifold, of course, it looks way prettier like this, as does everything else. And to be honest, this is one of the best things I could have done on a budget. And I highly recommend doing this, or at least attempting it, so that your car could potentially have some better temps under the hood instead of having so much hot air in the bay. Like the Supra's bay is really tight, not a lot of space for air to get out. And of course, when I had the crack in the manifold and everything not heat wrapped, and well, I had the downpipe heat wrapped, but there was a part that was exposed. The manifold was completely open and it had a crack, And the downpipe, I mean not downpipe, the back housing, well, I did have a blanket on it, but it didn't quite do the job that well. But this stuff should really help out a lot. And honestly, I really like it as like a show car mod, I guess. At the end of the day, no one's gonna get ultra close to see some of the runs on this, so I don't really mind the way it came out. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to get some paint and maybe try this on your own car. You may be pretty satisfied with the outcome, to be honest. Especially for what this is, for $20–$30, depending on how many cans you use. It's amazing, honestly. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, got something out of this. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.